China is targeting Uyghurs and critics abroad, pressuring other countries to detain and deport them, an investigation by Sky News has found, with high-ranking Chinese officials even conducting interrogations at black sites abroad. Chinese agents and police routinely operate abroad, attempting to identify Uyghurs who have fled China. Some are coerced into spying for the Chinese government. Others, once detained in a third country, simply vanish. China's campaign of repression against Uyghurs and other minorities in Xinjiang, with evidence of mass detention, forced labor, family separations and forced sterilization, has provoked international condemnation. It denies the allegations and says its policies in the region are to fight extremism. Interviews with 7 people suggest that China's campaign of repression is not simply confined to Xinjiang, but fully international. Advertisement. And one country in particular has become a happy hunting ground for Chinese security services, the United Arab Emirates. Chinese agent tells man to spy on his ex-wife. Jeja Barunki is a Uyghur man, originally from Uremi in Xinjiang, where he worked for a local Chinese Communist Party committee. He left China in 2009 and settled in the Netherlands. In August 2019, he got a message out of the blue, an old friend from Xinjiang who said he wanted to meet in Dubai to discuss something important. What Jeja didn't know was that his ex-wife, who also lived in the Netherlands, was a whistleblower, with important information on the repression in Xinjiang. Before departure, I went to my ex-wife's home, to tell her that I'd go to Dubai, he told Sky News. My ex-wife told me that she had a very important document and asked me why I must go now. She told me it's too coincidental. In Kasha, a city in Xinjiang, there was a camp, he explained. The document is about the list of over 800 people's names, birth dates and home addresses who were kept in the camp. Image: Jeja Barunki was told to spy on his ex-wife who had information on the repression in Xinjiang. Despite his wife's concerns, Jeja accepted the offer of a ticket to go to Dubai. At the airport, he was met by his friend and some other men. They later said they worked for Chinese national security. He knew that I went to my ex-wife's home to see my children, Jeja said. In her computer, there was a document that we want. If you cooperate with us, it's very easy, you wouldn't work very hard in future, we could give you a very good commission. He told me later that he gave me a USB key and I just input it with my ex-wife's computer so that they could catch the blower. When I left Dubai, I asked them any problem if I passed through the security check with the USB key. They said, no problems, they did it at LOT. Read more. Who are the Uyghur people and why do they face oppression by China? Image: Jeja I met with the man on the right when he arrived in Dubai. Jeja took the key back to the Netherlands and handed it over to the Dutch security services. The Chinese men kept calling but Jeja ignored them. One call was impossible to ignore though, a video of his mother, still in China. The man who worked for national security said your mum is so not very healthy, if you cooperate with us, you could meet her very soon. He said, my sister, my brother and my mom are all in their hands. Uyghur man detained at Dubai airport. Wang Jingyu was a teenager when he voiced his support for protesters in Hong Kong in 2019, before he criticized the Chinese People's Liberation Army in 2020. In China it is a crime to criticize martyrs. First, his parents were detained in his hometown of Chongqing, in China. Wang was living in Turkey at the time, but then they came for him, in April last year. I'm staying in a hotel in Istanbul, Wang told Sky News. In the first hotel, while I was sleeping, a Chinese man made phone call to hotel reception and the hotel reception transferred the call to my room. And he told me, you are criminal, I will kill you. I changed hotel, but the same thing happened again. Wang was scared and made plans to go to the US. His flight transited through Dubai. On his way to the departure gate for the US leg, 2 officers pulled him aside and told him to go with them. In the detention center, he was allowed to make a call. He phoned his girlfriend, Wu Wan. He said, I asked her to come to Dubai to pay the lawyer, do something, help me. Read more. Uyghurs tortured and beaten to death in Xinjiang. former Chinese police officer reveals. Please use Chrome browser for a more accessible video player. 357 whistleblower describes torture of Uyghurs. Wu arrived the next day only to be detained herself. First at a Dubai police station, then a detention center, and then somewhere else entirely. She said, on May 30th, probably, 2 Chinese came. They took me to a questioning room. They handcuffed her, she told Sky News, and put her in a car. They took me to a normal-looking villa. But inside, it was separated into many small single rooms, and the rooms were locked by iron doors, like a prison. And Wu said that she saw Uyghurs inside the same black site, which she said she thought was somewhere on the outskirts of the city. One day, when it was time to eat, I saw a girl shouting, she told Sky News. She said, "Why have you locked me up? I want to return to Turkey." That's the first time I saw someone else besides me inside. The girl looked like she was from Xinjiang. Please use Chrome browser for a more accessible video player. 112 drone video of alleged Uyghur prisoners. Both Wang Jingyu and Wu Huan say they were questioned by Chinese officials on UAE soil. In my opinion, they came from China's consulate, at least, most of them, Wu Huan said. At present, I know only one person. He was the consul general of the consulate. His name is Li Zuhang. Wang also identified the Chinese consul general. One time, I think on the 3rd visit, the consul general Li Zuhang, he told me, if you sign this document, on the 1st of May we will send you to Guangzhou. Who are the Uyghur people and why do they face oppression by China? The Uyghurs are a group of people, mostly Muslim, who live mainly in the Xinjiang area of China. They have been living there for at least several hundred years. China has been accused of interning up to 1 million Uyghurs in re-education centers in Xinjiang and increasing the number of non-Uyghurs in the region, so the proportion of Uyghurs there is declining. In April, MPs in the UK declared that Uyghurs and other ethnic and religious minorities in China's Xinjiang region are being subjected to genocide. China denies all allegations of human rights abuses. After going public with their ordeal, and intervention from US activists, both were released. It's so frightening, Wu Huan told Sky News. But to make it public, I thought I get out of this, I need to make it public. I need to tear away their hypocritical faces and tell these things to the whole world. Let the whole world know their ugly faces. Image, Wu Huan was questioned by Chinese officials at a black site in the UAE. China and UAE have strong trading relationship. The United Arab Emirates is at the center of all of the stories of the people who have spoken to us. In recent years, China has been hugging the tiny Middle Eastern state tight. In 2018, Xi Jinping himself visited, the first visit by a Chinese leader in 3 decades. His plane was even given an Emirati fighter escort as it landed. Image, Nagare Yusuf has not seen her husband Hussein, pictured, since 2017. The UAE has also signed up to China's Belt and Road Investment Initiative, and China is now one of its largest trading partners. And, crucially, the 2 countries have an extradition treaty. The UAE and China are the strongest trade partners. Rada Sterling, the founder of Detained in Dubai, which helps foreign victims of injustice in the UAE, told Sky News. China has more than 6,000 businesses operating in the UAE. And they are the strongest ally to the UAE in the financial sense. Not only that, they both are authoritarian states, they both engage in censorship and they are sharing security. Of course, when China says we want to partner with you in these certain unlawful activities, the UAE knows that the United States and other allies are not going to do much to stop that, which is a huge concern for the advancement of Chinese interests in the Middle East and Northern Africa. Amanisa Abdullah and Nagare Yusuf are Uyghurs, originally from Xinjiang. Both moved to Turkey as China's campaign of repression intensified. But even there, their families were not safe. It was in Istanbul that Nagare met her husband, Hussein. They talk about love at first sight, she told Sky News. That is exactly what happened. After they were married, Hussein was detained by Turkish authorities, who said he did not have the right to reside in the country. He was sent to a repatriation center in the east of the country.